What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the first official review for this channel, Heart Goes Vault. I really appreciate all the support so far. And yeah, without further ado, we're starting off with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is the start of the new trilogy, the Noah-led trilogy, if you will. We wrapped up the Caesar trilogy um, with the previous film, and this takes place many generations later. That's all it says. So, again, our main character is Noah, and we have a human character named Nova for now. We can talk about other things in the spoilers, but I'm just going to get the main plot synopsis down for now. Um, and Noah's family and his friends, basically, his tribe, which is very unique to this movie. The first time that I've seen it done this way, where they have a parasympathetic relationship with the eagles, and they raise them from birth and they hunt with them. So they also have like fish hanging up everywhere, right? So they're like a fishing tribe, but they hunt with the fish. So I think that was a really cool twist that they added, and a little component that was unique to this film. Noah's father is like the master of birds, and at first when we meet him, we think maybe he's kind of disappointed in Noah, or he's going to be a hard ass, but it's quite the opposite. He's really cool, laid back, very wise. He's one of the elders, and we'll get more into what elders are and why they're significant later. But he's basically a very respected member of the community. Also, Noah's mother is not. It's not explicitly said, but it's implied that she's like a teacher. And even when they are at Proximus Caesar's place later in the film, she is teaching the other children. So I think that reinforces even more that she's like a teacher figure. So that's Noah's family. And then his best friend, Araya, I believe, and then his love interest slash one of his really good friends. I'm blanking on her name right now, but I know Mr. Buzz is going to leave in the comments down below. Anyways, um, it starts off with them doing a really great climbing scene that kind of looks like an Uncharted intro sequence, which was really fun. Um, and that led to them like creeping up on a nest. And at first you're kind of like, oh, are they going to get a snack? Like, are they into these big eggs? And they're eagles. Um, and there's only three there. So what they do is they hint that there's a bonding day, and they keep it very safe. So you're like, okay, they're not going to eat it. They probably care about it. And they leave one. So they're like, that's the law. You can't take all their offspring, which is, I think that's cool little touch. So because of that, they had to climb to Top Tree, which is like I think there's mythical significance there. Um, but it's really awesome sequence because Noah is kind of attacked by one of the eagles, and he falls very far, almost all the way down, and his friends are scared, but he survives. He's hanging on to some rebar, and he survives that excursion with the egg. So then we have our Luke Skywalker, our hero of a thousand faces. We're checking out the ordinary world, we're establishing the world, and then chaos. There's going to be some crazy upside down turning, and what that is echoes, which is the ape name for humans, at least in this tribe. And also, it seems like their worldview of history is not correct. Like, they think apes have always been the apex, and like they know that humans can't speak. Which, if you watch the previous films, you know that that virus that made the apes smart also made the humans dumb, and that means they can't talk, in most cases. So, with that being said, they are chilling at night, and everything seems to be good, and then there's a echo in the camp, and it crushes his egg, and he's devastated. Um, but he says, "Then I have to go get another." So, oh, I think I missed a part where one of the echoes stole their um, blankets while they were grabbing the tree, while they were climbing the tree and grabbing the egg, and then Noah's love interest throws a sling and it scares the human and bloodies it up a little bit. So there's the scent on the blanket, and he brings that to the elders, and that's discussed quite a bit. So that was a huge part that I forgot. Um, and that's also when we're introduced to this like railway that is like this portal to what they say is like the other side, right? So there's some mystery to that, and there's also the boundary. So the storytelling is on another level here, and you can definitely tell they did their homework, not only with the Planet of the Apes lore, but just making this a coherent story, which we'll get into some of the other motifs later. Okay, so from there, some of the elders take the eagles and the scent, and they're going to, I think, spread some of that scent, because then if humans smell blood, they run away. They're scared, which makes sense. And that's when his egg gets broken, and he has to go find another one. On his journey, he sees one of the elders dead, or all the elders dead, and one of the elders just comes up and he says, like, there are more, and then dies. And they're like, holy crap. And he goes around and he's like hiding. In the beginning, Noah is definitely fearful. He's young. They do a lot of the good emotion, right? But they also auditory cues. He gets very high pitched. He gets very scared, right? So I think they did a very good job of displaying that, especially in this moment, and you feel Noah's fear. And they see his horse, obviously. So they shock the horse, and that's when they first see the like electric cattle prods, and boom, there's the technological difference, right? And we will see why the technological superiority will continue to be a theme and will continue to be important throughout the film, as well as I believe in the trilogy. So, they follow the horse back, and Noah is obviously like, oh, I messed up bad. And he's running through the forest, and he's trying to get back. And by the time he gets to his village, and obviously we're in spoilers territory at this point, so keep that in mind. He gets to his village, and it is burnt, and everything is chaos, and it's going crazy. And they do this amazing scene, apocalyptic scene of the end of the hero's world, and how everything's collapsing, and it's honestly well shot and well done. But there's an ultimate fight sequence with one of the gorillas, which so far to us seems like the leader of this new tribe, but he's just the general that we've seen, right? And he's actually the only gorilla in the movie, which is kind of weird. But hopefully we see more gorillas in the next movie, because every time he was on screen, I mean, the CGI and the presence, the voice actor did an amazing job. I mean, it was great. It got my blood pumping a lot of times, but especially when the gorilla was on the scene, it was awesome. And when the father and the son were fighting him at the top, where all the eagles were kept, the son is freeing the eagles, and making sure that they survive while it's all burning down. And the dad's fighting the gorilla. It's crazy. He goes out like a G, but the dad dies. And the son like falls this huge fall, but he doesn't die. He like kind of survives, and he's like tough. Noah's a tough son of a bitch, honestly. Super durable. One thing to note at this point, since we're talking about the differences, is there is the birthmark here, which will kind of indicate, sort of, for the people that have seen the previous trilogy. And he also gets shocked there, so then it's burnt and cemented that there's a mark there. And all the other apes have dark eyes. Even like Proxima Caesar has dark, I forgot what those whites are called, but it's just dark everything. And Caesar has green eyes. So, or I'm sorry, not Caesar. Noah has green eyes. So that makes me think of the lineage of Caesar, right? Even the toxin, I believe, was that color. So it's like the genetic component, the difference, there. Okay, then he realizes that he has to go. Oh, they get captured, enslaved, and taken, obviously, beyond the border. At that moment, he realizes he has to go and get his family back, and he promises his father, who is dead, um, but his spirit, that he will bring them home. He travels on a journey. He's still got a horse. Um, I think he gets one of those poles too, but it's broken, and that will be significant throughout the story. Um, okay, so once he goes past the threshold, forgive me. Once he goes past the threshold, he is like scavenging around, and he basically falls through this hole, and he meets an orangutan. I forgot his name. I'm not great with the names. Mr. Buzz down below, help me out. Also, we'll include his little snippet here in the video, with what he believes and what he thinks about the video or the movie. Regardless, he's tells himself that he tells Noah that he is part of the followers of Caesar or something, and he has this little mark, this little pendant, and that previously in the movie, these apes, they were conquering, and they're like, for Caesar! And he's like, whoa, I thought Caesar was a good guy. And because it's mythological at this point, hundreds of years later, or many generations. And he convinces him that he's not one of them, even though he has one of the prods, but that they killed his whole village, and that, he wants revenge, kind of. And he's sick of it. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, maybe we can rock. And he becomes sort of the wise mentor. And he's an awesome character. He's fluid, and he's got a lot of great wisdom, but he's also got a nice vibe. So when one of the echoes show up, the previous echo that stole the blanket in the first place, Noah's adverse to it, and he's like, oh, shit, these people, you're the one that caused it all in the first place. He's like, show some compassion, they get cold, and like threw her some apples and stuff, and that was Nova. So I think I'll try to pace it all along a little faster here. Um, but if you enjoy this in-depth kind of reviews and stuff, and you want to see more stuff like this, click that like button, subscribe. Just gotta throw that in there. Anyways, with now Nova kind of following them or traveling with them, they have this little ragtag group, and Nova hasn't said anything, right? So, all the humans are kind of devolved and can't talk, but there's a genetic component to it. So, you never know. And then she starts talking, and then they have this conversation, and she's basically like, we have to get to the coast. And when they do kind of get there, which he's like, all right, that's cool, we got to get to my family too. They realize like a whole bunch of these little tribes have been conquered by Caesar, which is kind of a good nod, right? Because Caesar, the Roman legion, and just the Roman Empire, that's how they spread. And there's even a nod to Vonnegut, with the Trevathan, I think, which is the Proximus Caesar's like scribe, and he's a human. He's like, yeah, it's the apes' time. If you're gonna be a human and survive, you're gonna have to be this, basically. And I teach him stuff, and I tell him about stuff, and one thing was evolution. So then Proximus Caesar gets all crazy about evolution. He's like, in my generation, I want to evolve to a huge level. And the best way to do that is through technological evolution. And what we realize is on the coast there is a government bunker, right? Hashtag enclave. And in that bunker is the remnants, basically, of the U.S. government and all the people who, it's kind of vague, but basically who ran the country when shit was going down, and that's where they went. That's where they fled. So there's a lot of technological power there, but he doesn't know that, but he's like, I know there's something back there. And they don't have any really success opening it, but that's the goal. So then there's like a back way, and it's pretty treacherous, and it deals with like a big climb, but they do it. And it's Noah, Nova, and the other two, who are the trio of apes, the original. One thing that I failed to mention this whole time, but it's not like a huge thing, is Noah's father's eagle, which is like the biggest, like baddest eagle, and they're like golden eagles. Um, doesn't like Noah. He like pecks his face and like just doesn't like him. Even after Noah's dad dies, he's like, kind of all we got left. It's just me and you. And he's like, I don't give a shit, bro. And the eagle's always testing him, and he's like, well, fuck this eagle, bro. But he's also maybe got to earn his respect a little bit. So there's that. Um, then they get into the bunker. They descend. It really shows a good like Christopher Nolan style. This is a made set. We're gonna be here. We're gonna go back and forth throughout here. So I like that part of it. And basically, they find books, and she's explaining. And the original mentor, who did die on the bridge. I'm fast tracking this, but she got to get it out there. He dies on the bridge. In the water, right? He drowns, and that becomes very significant, even with the naming. But we'll get to that sort of in the end in the analysis. He talks to Noah about books and how the symbols have meaning, and he shows him books, and he's like, the humans were very important to Caesar, and believe it or not, they cared for Caesar. And again, this is like their Christ-like figure. This is like their pinnacle of the species, and why they're in the spot that they're in. So even with these hundreds of years of tales, there's different takes on them, right? And some are like, yeah, Caesar was about taking power and being this, and but he was wise. And then you're like, these followers of Caesar, and they can read, they're like, no, he like loved the humans. We could be side by side. There's just different opposing views there, and I hope they get more into ideology there, even though the mentor says he's the last surviving member of that followers. I hope that's not the case. A lot of factions, a lot of things introduced, especially in the ending. So at this point, she is saying there's this book, but it's not really a book, that could make maybe people talk again. And he's like, whoa, okay. And we go there, and it's like a government little back area, and we find out it's a hard drive. So, it's hard to explain that, but it makes sense. It contains information, and we don't know what the hard drive is for yet, but it does explain it in the end. And a cabinet of rifles and a bunch of guns. So we're like, holy shit. Remember when the dude got the gun in the freaking Noji? Okay, that was a bad deal. All right. So at this point, they're like, okay, we're gonna have to rig explosives and flood it, and they shouldn't be allowed to get what's in there. So once they do start to go out, there's like a manual release on the door that they've been trying to open over and over through force, and have been killing apes and using explosives and shit, which was the insane intro to Proxima Caesar, which we'll get to more into the analysis, like I said. But he's an insane villain. He's a great villain, and very commanding, but also shows how much of a pussy he is when the gun is drawn. And he kind of hides behind the slaves and stuff, and he's like, are there more of those? And yeah, they basically catch him red-handed, and there's nothing they could do. She dips out, and there's quite a bit of a stir, but when she detonates the explosives, this dam that was keeping like the ocean at bay just lets go, and it just floods the bunker, and all the apes, Noah's like, climb, and they just start climbing. And Caesar and the gorilla, which is his right hand commander, are kind of hesitant, but then even the gorilla, he like tries to muscle the fucking wave. We're like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, and just gets plowed. And anyway, so they pretty much all make it, and he tells Araya, keep going, you lead. And he's making sure that no one goes, no one's the last one. And then at the very end, the gorilla comes, and there's like a waterfall, and he like comes through the water, and Noah's like, shit, I gotta divert him. So he diverts him under all these pipes and he starts doing all this dope ass parkour, and the water level keeps rising. And dude, the gorilla starts tearing pipes. He's freaking going insane. The gorilla is so hype at this moment. Your blood is pumping. You're on the edge of your seat. This is the climax of the film. This is the peak Planet of the Apes. If they can match this without the trilogy, this will be $1 billion franchise. Like, this is what the juice we're squeezing for. Noah finds a opening where basically he can go up, but it's too small for the ape. So the gorilla. So he goes that way, and then we see the gorilla, and he's pissed, and he can't tear, and he's like starts to drown a little bit. And Noah's like feels kind of bad for him, but he's also like, that's the way it had to be, bro. So boom, there's another drowning. Death by water. All that gets flooded all the way to the top. Noah goes. It's at the top of the cliffside that they had to climb, right? The backside. I hope I'm presenting a good image for this. I'm kind of speed rolling this, but they're all up there. That's who they're gonna start civilization with. Everything seems good. Noah's bloodied up. He's tired. You know, he I think he tries to embrace with his mother, and then Caesar's like, "Yo!" and just grabs him and starts throwing him around, getting crazy. Earlier, it is foreshadowed that to tame the eagles, the elders sing a song, and the orangutan wanted to hear it, and he's like, "No, I don't want to do it right now." And he's like, "Shame. I would have loved to hear a song." And then it's basically, I don't know, it's some. And then he starts humming. It's intense. Go watch the clip. If I can, I'll put a clip here. But it is intense. It is. Boom. Again, this is the juice that we're squeezing for. And all of a sudden, it's like 10 of those eagles just start slicing Proxima Caesar up. Boom. Boom. Dunzo. Pull him off a cliff. Boom. Falls. Boom. Falls in the water. Drowns. Boom. Death by water. Dunzo. Now, Noah does what he promises, and with his father's eagle on his side, takes his tribe back to his home, and they start to rebuild. They start to have the eagles. They start to use the silk so that they can nest the eggs and do all the proper rituals. But then the human shows up, and it's like, the human, she detonated, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, maybe we can end it in peace. So they kind of end it cordially. There's some cliffhanger there. But Noah has definitely shown that he is the next evolution. He is going to lead these apes into, and it's kind of an amalgam of the kingdom that was Caesar's, right? Because he had a bunch of the slave tribes, so it's kind of amalgam. It's even bigger and a little more diverse than it was originally. So it grew, which is the return, right, to the world. Again, powerful storytelling, amazing story structure, and just overall really good stuff. I'm gonna turn the dome light on. Sorry, we're gonna finish it up here. Analysis, just a few quick things. Proxima Midnight. Again, just doing what was best. Very relatable villain in the beginning. You can almost kind of see it from his perspective, but shows his true colors and kind of gets his due in the end. Noah, a lot of character development, a lot of growth in the end, does prove competent and does feel like a badass protagonist that will lead this trilogy to greatness. If again they can hit these high highs. And as far as pacing, I guess would say would be the only lows. They spared their action, but when the action was on screen, it was fantastic, right? There's a lot of the flood parallels, and it's overall a flood narrative. So I don't think that's on accident with Noah. So we'll see maybe if they do some of the other Old Testament stuff in there, especially because there's, again, this is New Testament, but there's the Christ narratives with Caesar, and they definitely go into how zealots can be created, and dogmaticism is bad when you don't understand the core message. There's a lot of great themes in this movie, and overall, I would recommend it and I would rate it 9 out of 10. But again, we'll put Mr. Beast's little clip here, and yeah, without further ado, I really appreciate it. Go follow Harco's Vault on Instagram, click the like button, subscribe, click the bell notification so you never miss an upload, and I really appreciate it. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, have yourselves a wonderful day. Peace.